covered the Decepticons version last time, we will cover the Autobots version here. The Autobots version is actually the version I prefer for reasons I'll get into. Given the gameplay is essentially the same with an Autobot coat of paint, we will judge the Autobot version compared to how it fares against the Decepticon version. The prologue is practically identical with that of the Decepticon version. We play as a nameless Autobot who goes through the same tutorial, with the changes occurring when the rookie contacts Ironhide through the computer. Instead of Megatron ambushing and killing him, we instead get Starscream ambushing the rookie, with Optimus Prime showing up and saving his life. Aside from the change in faction, the layout of the level is practically the same. We control Optimus Prime, except he's not a Prime at this point, and Bumblebee, and we do the exact same stuff Megatron and Brawl did at the start of the campaign. We practically have to fight Dirge instead of Jetfire though. But just like Jetfire, you do not need to move a single inch in order to kill this guy. So that's mission 1 completed. So I want to point out that in this game, we've also got the arena, where we are put through many scenarios, and we must persist to progress. At the end of the stage, in fact, we unlock a character for whatever side, and the arena maps double as multiplayer maps. So going into Arena, we go through K-On! Prison, which essentially consists of challenges like surviving waves of enemies, race trials, defending an ally, and so on. And since I wanted to be ahead of the game, I unlocked the first character, Jazz, through a boss battle, a character that I would use for the whole campaign. The next area map was Sewers, where new challenges arose like placing bombs in certain areas was a requirement. To put it short, the boss at the end of the sewers was Ultra Magnus, who of course sounds nothing like he did in Prime. Michael Ironside did make for a better Ultra Magnus anyways. Next, we go into the streets of some Autobot city, I presume. Missions range from destroying generators to surviving a trap, and at the end, we face off against Air Raid. What I noticed late in the fight is that you can actually jump onto this platform and stay out of Air Raid's range. Very sneaky. The map after that is the goddamn dam. And during the survive multiple waves of enemies challenge, I actually, as Jazz, went to an area the enemies couldn't go and shot them out of cover. Yeah, I'm one of those kinds of players that exploits oversights in the game's design. Then afterwards, the boss is Hotshot. Hotshot is pretty tough. Given I am not that good at dodging attacks in this game, I used my switch characters and transform strategy I used in the Decepticons version, where we essentially face off against this dude. And by then, I unlocked a pretty powerful character. My go-to characters ended up being Jazz and Hotshot. Not only because the two have very good dialogue with charisma when you switch between them, but because they are insanely powerful. I know what you're probably thinking. Did I suffer when both characters are light vehicles? Not really, because the jet mode wasn't that useful in this version. Sure, there were some times I'd fall off to my death, but those instances were few in number. When playing the final arena, titled Purification, which is probably the hardest out of all the arenas. Essentially, the designers put intentionally tough challenges, like surviving waves of enemies with a short out-of-bounds area to ensure you have to be close to the enemies, otherwise the return to the battlefield timer will go off. Capping off with a fight with Grimlock, who wasn't supposed to appear until the next game, but I guess they were running out of characters to choose from. Grimlock has a predictable strategy that makes his drawn-out boss fight relatively easy, so in case you couldn't guess, I had a ton of useful characters before I was supposed to get them. So the early missions were a breeze, honestly. The main story follows the Autobot campaign in the console version, starting with Zeta Prime contacting the Autobots after his capture by the Decepticons, revealing that he is still alive. But before we can save him, we must bring Iacon back into Autobot control again. Given I have 2 overpowered characters in this point, it was relatively easy. What I didn't say in the Decepticons version is that the levels are well designed, and they have practical use for all 3 vehicle types, plus secrets that are only accessible with certain characters. Although I kept using Hotshot and Jazz for all of the campaign, because they were, as mentioned before, overpowered. Surprisingly, this game is pretty damn tough halfway through. I had a problem getting through the second K-On! Prison level because I would slip up and die. Plus, enemies were rampant and surrounded me. Having 2 characters wasn't enough, and it was a considerable challenge, especially with me having to adapt to the challenge. I think checkpoints should be more frequent than this, but it certainly encourages you not to screw up. As an adaptation of the console game, it's roughly as faithful as the Decepticons version. Of course, there's a lot of alterations, including a level that doesn't resemble anything in the console version, that being a mission to rescue Swoop to prove ourselves to Grimlock. In the console version, Grimlock and Swoop didn't show up until Fall of Cybertron, where the story behind that was that High Moon wanted to introduce the Dinobots before Earth and went to Hasbro for ideas. When it comes to the Autobots version, the levels have recycled assets and locations with an opposition skin over everything. The Decepticons version was easier to review because I wasn't treading the same ground. So sorry for cutting the Autobots version short, but I'm not the type of guy who wants to pad out the reviews artificially. I've talked about all I can, which given I'm probably going to face a similar problem with Dark of the Moon DS, what I'll do for that review is combine both the Autobot and Decepticon versions into one review, because the 2 versions are very similar. What I'm going to do for Dark of the Moon is combine the 2 reviews, so the review should actually be double the content. As for the verdict in this game, I'm going to give it the same score as the Decepticons version, given that they're practically identical with very little changes. I guess maybe I should lower the score, but these games were released on the same day. It isn't like the FIFA games where they recycle everything 5 years in a row with only a roster update. So that's my short review. I am terribly sorry, but I didn't have that much to talk about. I'm JJ Plagiarisms, and until next time, what are stories but mystery boxes?